Listen carefully, we don't have much time. The Flux is coming.
Hello and welcome. I was about to say to Who Knew, but it's not to Who Knew. It's to Who Knew Fluxed. That's right. We are here for a very special little series of podcasts because Doctor Who's back and we are covering Doctor Who Flux week by week. I will have a different guest with me covering the episode. And this week is no different. I have a wonderful guest, and here with me to talk about the Halloween apocalypse is the one and only Ellie TardisMonkey. How are you?
I am good. Slightly hungover after coming back from Alton Towers, but I am here. Watch the episode. It's fine.
Good. That's good. Well, that is requirement number one, that you've actually seen the episode.
That
that's
usually
good.
helps.
That's good. I've tried to do a bit of set dressing here with some Halloween pumpkins, some little pumpkins
Ooh.
on my, but you can't really see. They just look like little orange blobs. So that's not really worked. But anyway, it's the day after Halloween. It is the day after the Halloween apocalypse, chapter 1 of Doctor Who Flux. I'm going to let you go and reveal your thoughts, because I know you've held off a little bit after you watched the episode this morning.
Yes.
So take it away. What did you think of the Halloween apocalypse?
I mean, it didn't slow down. I was astounded by how much stuff was in it. I mean, they literally just sort of went, yeah, you want Doctor Who back? Here we go. It was, the Santarans, Weeping Angels, Liverpool 1890 or whatever it was, Dan, just like, there was just a whole cascade of end of the world. Like, I don't think you could get any bigger in the first episode if you tried.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, it was, actually, like, the whole thing was terrifying because, like, what's his name? The Swarm guy. When he like absorbed those people and stuff. I mean, if I was like 6 years old, that would scare the crap out of me.
I'm 24 and I freaked out. I freaked out. That was scary.
Yeah, it was just the way like he glowed and everything. It was very sort of like Hellraiser kind of esque Halloween style. But yeah, I mean, Chris Chibnall really didn't hold back on anything. And I think sort of like my first thing I will have to say is I adore John Bishop as Dan. I think Dan is going to be such a wonderful character. It was like one of those moments that you see him at the museum, and as he's given the tour, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Then you just realize that he's just a massive nerd that just wants to help people out, which is like, I can relate to that so much, and I like you. And that was like in the first instant, sort of 5 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I mean, I forgot to say this at the front end. Spoilers for Doctor Who Flux, obviously. If you haven't seen Doctor Who Flux, I mean, we've already ruined a couple of bits for you. Please turn this off and go and watch it. Why are you watching this first? Just go. Come back, please, but go. So yeah, spoilers, full spoilers from here on in. Dan is an instant hit for me. I've not seen anyone like make any negative comment. I have a few little nitpicks which I'll get to later on, which are small things.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, I really, really enjoyed it. Like you said, the scale is. I mean, when Chibnall said that the first episode they're starting off at a finale level, he was not wrong. Like, that was a lot of stuff to cram into one episode. Absolutely mental. So yeah, Dan is, like I said, a highlight for me so far. I love the way they introduced him. Like you said, he's been a massive nerd about Liverpool. And I grew up not far away from Liverpool, so seeing all of these places where I used to go when I was a kid is so cool.
Brilliant.
Which you had on New Year's Day with, you know, Clifton Suspension Bridge and stuff
Oh
like that.
yeah,
You know,
totally.
you got your time to shine. Now it's my time.
Yeah, we got the Bristolian time. It's the Liverpudlian time now.
It's the Northwesterners who get their time to shine. So yeah, great introduction to him. And another introduction that we got was a reintroduction to the Doctor and Yaz in a very different dynamic to how we've seen them before, but a really fun opening scene, I thought. I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, do you know what? It very much reminded me of the Fifth Doctor and Nyssa. Once they're, you know, they left Tegan and everything, and they've got that moment where they can sort of like bond, and you can see sort of like that they've been together for, it seems like quite a while now.
Yeah.
You know, because they're like, oh, you know, on that gravity bar thing, and they're going, oh, Doctor, like, you bloody got us in another situation like this. And she's like, oh dear, you know, what a shame, but I'll get out of it. I thought it's just like quite a nice, unique sort of bonding moment. And I love, do you know what? I love the TARDIS acting bits where they're actually in the TARDIS itself, and like Yaz is helping the Doctor actually like pilot the TARDIS and stuff. And you know, the Doctor gives like a cheeky little smile, like, yeah, I'm actually making a difference, sort of on Yaz. And you know, Yaz, you know, adores her and stuff, and you can tell that they've really got this bond. I mean, I would have loved to have seen maybe one episode with just the pair of them.
Yeah.
But I think, like, you know, hey, it paves ways for Big Finish and all that as well. So I'm quite happy with that. That we know that we got this gap that's just the Yaz and Doctor adventures kind of thing.
That is a gap there to be plugged. Yeah, I love. I think the Doctor. I think it works perfectly. I think that it's been a sort of a common criticism at this era is that though we like most people might like all of the members of the TARDIS team, but they're all sort of crammed in and there isn't enough time for all of them to breathe. And now with the Doctor and Yaz, I feel like the Doctor gets a chance to be more doctory and have a lot more doctorish moments with that standard Doctor companion duo. And Yaz really gets to shine in this episode as well and show that she's learned a lot. Like, she's piloting the TARDIS. She just, I mean, later on in the episode, she's just wandering about Carvanista's ship like she owns the place and letting down. And
that's it, yeah.
It's really cool.
That's it, because she's so independent now that it's nice that you can see, that she literally just went, I know how to de-electrify a cage, off you go, kind of thing. Come along, Dan. And he's like, what the hell's going on? I love that dynamic that now sort of, because it almost feels a bit fresh again. It's like with series 10, where we had Bill sort of join and everything. Everything feels a bit more new, and people who are sort of watching maybe for the first time, they can relate to Dan, but also like us older fans, we're there with the Doctor and Yaz because we're like, oh, we know what's going on. But it's nice. I think I'm gonna love the dynamic between all three of them, because Yaz is now sort of an old hand at it. She can now teach Dan, which is a nice dynamic as well.
Yeah, and it lets the Doctor get on with sort of a lot more of the main plot stuff rather than showing Dan the ropes. And you get Yaz being a bit more independent. I think it's just set up to work really well. While we're on the subject as well, some lovely little references in that first scene as well. We get Ace we get the Ace reference with the Nitro 9 in the first few seconds, which I was just like, I'm in. I'm in. And then Jodie doing the Scottish accents, and even I don't know if you've seen this, but it's been going around Twitter. I didn't get this in my credits, but in my subtitles. But if you have the subtitles on, it says the 12th Doctor's voice release, and then it says the 7th Doctor's voice release, which is really cool. So that's
brilliant.
I love that. I mean, two 7th Doctor era references in the first 2 minutes. What more do you want?
Exactly.
So then, I mean, we'll go through sort of step by step. So then, we get the introduction of Dan, really well done. And after that, I mean, I'm trying to keep up in my head where we get to. Yes, then we get to the scene where Swarm escapes. Very, very interesting. What do you think of Swarm? I'm sold immediately.
Literally, like he is terrifying, because you instantly sort of, when he's in that box, that like containment feel, you go, okay, yeah, I'm getting a really bad vibe from you. And then like when he disintegrates those people, you're thinking, oh my god, this is like horrific kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a proper big bad, which I like, and I feel like the Doctor always needs that big bad. And it kind of makes you question, sort of like, is the Master involved? Is he gonna come back, kind of thing? Is he
Yeah.
around, or whatever? But it's nice that, yeah, because it's like Tim Shaw. I wish that like Tim Shaw kind of went across the series a bit more, so I'm hoping with the Swarm that he'll sort of frequently visit and go, haha, I bested you, Doctor, at this, because I know how you work and you don't know how I work. And it's
Yeah.
that kind of like banter sort of between them both. Yeah, really creepy. And I love the makeup and everything. I think that
Oh,
was done
it's a
so
beautiful. I
beautifully.
think from the moment the promo images came out,
Yeah.
Swarm, and I think we're running with the name Azure
Yeah,
for
Azure,
the
yes.
female version, which
Yeah.
again we'll get onto later. There's so much to talk about. I think that design is gorgeous,
Yeah.
so nice, and I think now's a good time to touch upon the look, because
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
it might be my main positive of
yeah.
this episode, which is in terms of costume and
Yeah.
set design, but primarily visual effects.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
don't think Doctor Who has ever looked better, ever in my life. I
I think,
think it looks
yeah.
big budget, like
Yeah,
it looks
yeah,
massive.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because I mean, there was
I,
some beautiful sort of like transition shots between sort of like the live action and then the VFX, because I love that bit where it zooms in on Jodie's eye, and then you
yes,
see sort of like the planet destroying cloud, or whatever the
yeah,
flux is basically. And I love that. I love that transition sort of between. It's so seamless as well. It's
yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, it's not. Yeah, I mean, the visual effects work is almost flawless,
Yeah,
and then on top of that, the way it's shot by Jamie Magnus Stone, obviously who's directed it. It's just, I was just in awe of it, and I just watched it again for the second time, and it still holds up. It's so good.
yeah,
And it's just got me really excited for the rest of the series. I mean, I imagine a lot of the visual effects budget was used on that
yeah.
first episode,
I
so I'm
think like,
intrigued to see if we get a bit more practical, or maybe we get we always joke about getting the lower budget episode in a series, and I'm
yeah.
wondering if one of them is coming, or maybe that's why they reduced the episode count down, because you can do more of that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's very, very exciting. So
Yeah, I think one of the standout moments for me, that was like quite a beautiful scene as well, where the Doctor's like, "Oh, there's nothing outside," and then Dan steps out and the TARDIS doors, and he looks, and then it's just all of space and everything.
yeah,
And I think that's just such a beautiful moment, because like the Doctor's so encapsulated in sort of panicking about sort of like the flux and everything, that Dan, as a human who's never seen this before, is so taken away by the beautiful sort of space, and Yaz can realize that. And I think again, that's where that dynamic comes in, because
yeah,
Yaz can be the middle person that goes, yeah, I've seen this, but I understand, because you're a human, you're in awe of this, like sort of all the stars and everything. But the
mhm,
Doctor's like, yeah, I've seen it a million times.
yeah, yeah. So it's so beautiful. Another visual effects shot, like you mentioned,
Yeah,
when Swarm absorbs all of the person who's keeping them
yeah.
prisoner, and that shot on the face, like I said, it's terrifying, but it's
Yeah.
so well done as well. Um, Interesting with those guards,
Mm,
with the guns, because it's the
yes.
same gun as the fugitive Doctor.
Yes.
Now, I've got we'll touch on little theories throughout that we might have.
Yeah.
I mean, because we've also got Carvanista, who we'll get onto in a bit. Carvanista, obviously, the Doctor refers to Carvanista as a part of the division.
Yeah.
And that means that are the guns exclusive to the division? Another division exclusive to the Time Lords? Because I think we were all thinking the division is a Time Lord run thing.
Yeah.
But maybe there's other species involved. Maybe it's bigger than the Time Lords. I don't know.
Maybe
I'm
that's
confused.
why they're called the division. They've got other divisions of that,
It's a
different
division
species.
of loads of different species. That's a good
Yeah.
point. That's a very good point. I like that. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I mean, I love the fact that we get so much teased here for the next 5 episodes, because it was hard to get my head around the first time watching it, because I don't know about you, but I went into it with a new Who mindset of this is a standalone episode, and then I was like, yeah, nothing's getting wrapped up here. So I'm going to have to sort of adjust my viewpoint and sort of imagine that I'm watching a different show, or like I'm watching classic Who.
It's funny, because I knew it was going to be the 6 episodes. I was, and they're 50 minutes as well, so they're quite big episodic sort of things. And I was like, right, I'm in the mindset of me sat down watching the War Games. I'm kind of in that mood. It's the big kind of epic, because what I'd love to do after sort of all of this is done is literally sit down and watch the entire thing in one go. Because I can imagine it being this like big epic film, and that's like the kind of budget that we're going with. So I was prepared. I knew sort of like the 50 minutes were going to go sort of relatively quick. I mean, they went quicker than I expected because of so much stuff that's in it. So yeah, I'm prepared for the long ride on this. So I'm happy with the amount of teasers that they've given, because like you think, right, we've got another 5 episodes yet to get through, and we have to answer all of these yet.
Yeah, exactly. Because I tweeted out last night when I first finished it, I said this is probably my weirdest criticism that I've ever made of a Doctor Who episode, and I was like, there's a lot of good shit in here, but I think there's too much good shit. I was like, maybe it's too good. I was like, maybe there's too much in here. But I have to say, I have to amend that statement, because I've rewatched it, and after a rewatch, it doesn't feel as overwhelming, but it still holds up as like, I'm excited to see where all of this goes. There's a couple of things I might have held back on personally.
I think for me, I wouldn't have shown maybe the Liverpool 1890s stuff. I feel like that kind of detracted from some of the major kind of story. And also, like, just personally for me, I love the Weeping Angel bit, but also it felt a bit misplaced where it was in the middle of an action scene. It felt like there was just too many sort of like dramatic moments happening, and it's almost like you needed just a calm moment where you needed to introduce the Weeping Angels for them to take it's Diane, isn't it, into the house kind of thing, and just have that moment of spookiness, I want to say, then get back into the action at the end where you build up to the big cliffhanger. I felt it was just a little bit disjointed, but if they moved it around, I would have felt a bit better with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the only other bit that, see, because I'm so torn on this bit. I completely agree on the Liverpool bit. Definitely. I think it was just one bit a little bit too far, and I was like, I worry that. I mean, I obviously won't, because I'll watch the episodes like a million times, but I'd worry that with it being right at the beginning of the first episode, and it might not look like it's getting paid off until maybe episode 2 or 3. People might it might slip their minds. But the other bit that I maybe would have saved, just because it's such a good moment and it feels a little bit just slapped in the middle, is the Santaran scene.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
loved it. I
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely love. I mean, it's like already I'm like this. This is probably my favorite Santaran design, and I love the performances, and I love the
Oh,
balance of the silly and the serious of them in just like a 30-second segment. It's so fun.
yeah.
But that's why I personally maybe would have saved it to maybe just before the end,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, for
maybe
sure.
this might be controversial, maybe like a little post-credit scene. Maybe, I mean,
Yeah.
we've had it
Yeah. Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Rather than have a next time trailer,
Have that
have
instead.
that
Yeah.
instead, and
Yeah.
then it leads into the end credits. I think that would have been really cool. But I'm not complaining about it being in there because it's a really
No.
good scene and I really like it. I just think I might have slightly enjoyed it a bit more if it was jigged around a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, I mean, yeah, there's so much to talk about.
I know. I'm losing track
Where
already.
do we go next? Where do we go next? I mean, we'll go back onto the Santarans a bit later because we'll do a little bit about the next episode, which we already know is going to be Santaran heavy.
Oh yes.
The TARDIS. Let's get on the TARDIS. What's going on with the TARDIS? Because
I mean, she's leaking, and that's
yeah.
not a good thing.
I think
that sounds gross like that.
It does. It does. I mean, we've got the
Yeah.
Who Knew merch store now, and I mean, if people want it, I will print that on a t-shirt. She's leaking, and it's not good.
Not good. It was really interesting because I quite like the whole thing that the TARDIS is going a bit wrong with the doors, like the doors
Yeah.
being wonky and everything, because you're like, oh, we haven't seen that sort of before, sort of having like the doors in different places of the console room as they pop out from like beneath and stuff. It's great because I mean, obviously, elephant in the room, we had the cloister bell ring as well, so imminent danger, all that kind of stuff. So I think it really puts you on edge. This whole episode has just put me on edge because you're thinking something terrible's going to happen at a certain point, but I don't know when, and all these little hints and everything are popping up at the moment. But I'm worried about the TARDIS because also the Doctor like freaking smashing it and stuff like that with the hammer and breaking it. And
I really like what they did with it. I really like it because I've not been the biggest fan of this console room, to be honest with you. I think in certain pictures it looks really nice, but then in action it's always been a bit dark and a bit that it's just not really felt like a tangible TARDIS.
Do you know what? This is the first time I felt like we've had proper TARDIS kind of piloting, using it, showing it off. Like they're so comfortable with it that they're just sort of like, Yaz helping out. Whereas before, like, I mean, in some of the previous series, you see sort of Yaz, Ryan, and oh my god, I forgot Bradley Walsh's name.
Graham.
Oh my god, that shows how tired I am. Where they're kind of like stood round and they're just kind of stood there. And you're thinking, well, if you've been through all the time and space, you've been on this thing for quite a while, you want to chill out. So you want to have those moments where like on Tennant's TARDIS, you've got the seat and everything that you could just put your feet up and whatever. I like that kind of stuff. And this time around, it felt like that Yaz and the Doctor were like way more comfy with just pressing buttons and stuff, which I really enjoyed. And actually seeing sort of the TARDIS shake around and blow up and all that was good.
That I think I've realised what has bugged me a bit about the TARDIS, and I think the past couple of series it's just felt like a lift, like they're in an elevator, like they've just they're just stood around and they're not flying through time and space. They're just going. They're sort of just meandering through time and space, and it's not flying them around like a rickety old TARDIS should. But I love the smashing in and everything like that.
Yeah, because I mean, this is it, because the TARDIS is such a pinnacle kind of safe point And when that safe point is disrupted, you kind of go, oh my God, like what are they going to do? Because if that TARDIS is gone or is in danger, they're in danger as well. And I mean, having the TARDIS doors, actually, is this going too soon? Flying open at the end, and you know,
No,
there's
no, 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 no. We
Fluxy
can.
stuff coming.
I mean, this is going to be a chaotic review
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
all over the place. I don't know where we're going next.
Yeah,
We've
so
still
that
there's like
yeah.
half of the episode that we've not, like half the
Oh
plot
no.
point we've not even touched on. I don't know where we're going. So yeah, the doors fly open at the end.
Door flying open, all that kind of stuff. You know that safe space has been, you know, taken over, and it's not safe anymore. So you can't rely upon that anymore. And I like that moment, because then you know that the characters are in super danger, and then it's how they're going to get out of it at the end is what I'm interested in for next week as well. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually quite surprising that we've not really seen like writers, like Doctor Who writers, mess with the TARDIS more in the past. It's always sort of like once you get to the adventure, the TARDIS sort of just gets discarded. It just gets you from A to B. And then we got it a bit more like, I'd say the closest thing we've got is in like Sound of the Drums and Last of the Time Lords, when it obviously gets turned into the paradox machine.
Yeah, paradox machine, yeah.
And like cannibalizing it and stuff like that. And it's messing with the TARDIS. But it's like, this is that, like you said, it's our safe place. And it's the thing that makes the show go on. Like in real life, if the TARDIS goes, there is no program. We have nothing to watch.
Much,
So it's like the ultimate threat for the viewer. Like, just like, oh, we could get rid of the TARDIS. Like, what? Really exciting. And I think it's something that's been rumored a bit. I think I've heard, obviously, you know, there's not many leaks that come out of this series, but one that I had read was something's going wrong with the TARDIS. And I was quite excited. It was one of the leaks where I was like, I really hope that's true, because I think it'll make for some really, really interesting stuff. So yeah, TARDIS, and I love the door in the floor. That was I loved the door in the floor. It's so good,
so good,
so fun, and the door just being on the wrong end. Yeah, really, really fun. It's good that they're messing with the TARDIS a bit. So let's have a little look at. I tell you what, we'll take a little break.
Yeah.
From chatting about the episode, because I'm getting lost. So we'll have a little look at what everybody else has had to say about the episode in a very special edition of Bloody Twitter.
For God's sake! Bloody Twitter!
So
here we go.
Bloody Twitter. I mean, what I've asked people for is their thoughts and their theories on what's happening. And we got some very interesting answers back. And like I said, hopefully this might jog our memories as to the things that we've missed out as well. So the first one is from Jack Alexander at Spa Night 1991. Also has a great podcast. He said, I loved this episode. It finally felt like Chibnall clicked for me. Swarm has definitely brought on the Flux, and we'll get flashbacks to him facing a previous Doctor, or even pre-Hartnell. That's his prediction. I reckon around episode 5, the Doctor has had such a long life, her battles with Swarm could have taken place at any point. We could even see multiple Doctors in flashback, and Joe Martin will definitely be one of them, but others could be hinted at. Swarm has erased those memories, so who knows? So that's an interesting idea, because I know there's the scene where Swarm goes to the Arctic Circle, which is another whole bit that we haven't even talked about yet.
I forgot about that bit.
The Arctic Circle bit. And finds Anna,
yes,
who is actually Azure, which we only know from credits in TV guides at the minute, which seems a bit weird. So there's that bit, but there's all she says, why do I have this thought in my head?
Yeah.
So Swarm seems to have the ability to mess with minds a little bit, which is interesting. And it's an interesting point that Jack makes, that we've sort of, I assumed when Swarm was referring to past battles with the Doctor, that it was all deleted by the Division, which I think he does reference, but maybe Swarm has had a little mess around in there as well. I mean, maybe we'll get a little flashback with the Seventh Doctor and Swarm. I mean, what a pairing that would be. That would be a great little matchup.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, we still don't know how Joe Martin's Doctor fits in this whole situation. So I don't know whether or not, you know, it could be addressed later on that, you know, Joe Martin's Doctor maybe faced him in an alternate dimension or something like that. It would be... That's
exactly what Stephanie Potter has said as well. I'm wondering if it's Joe Martin's version of the Doctor that first fought the Swarm. It might explain why she ran from the Division. So, I mean, a lot of fun to be had there. We have not got a clue. And Joshua Carpenter as well, at Joshua CC252, has said it's a good direction for the episode and series that the episode/series is going for, though I reckon because the plot has to be sidelined for prepping for every future episode, it'll be looked back on individually as the worst of series 13, which is an interesting thought. I mean, he might be right that, you know, the stuff that it's setting up, it's worth it to set up all of this stuff. Episode 1 sort of has to exist anyway, just to and it sort of only exists to further the other 5 episodes. But I mean, if it is, I think it's still done a bloody good job at making a very fun and exciting watch as well.
This is it, because I mean, it is an episode of exposition. You're not going to get around it. It is an episode with a ton of exposition. So, but the way it's been done, I didn't feel like it was a load of stuff just being told to me. There was a lot of showing, a lot of like, here's the big Flux thing that you should be scared about. And I love that, rather than just going, oh, there's a Flux thing somewhere that's destroying planets, kind of thing.
So it's the way it tells it, and the timing of it as well, like the way it teases out information, like the fact that it's quite late on in the episode, we hear about, you know, we learn why the Doctor's going after Carvanista. It's quite late on that we learn about the Flux. It is quite gradual. It doesn't feel it because it's such a fast-paced 50 minutes, but there is a good chunk of story beforehand, before we start finding out those key bits of information. It's all sort of just chaotic leading up to that point, but in a fun way, I think. But Joshua said that it is a solid 7 out of 10. So I think, like I said, if bearing in mind that it does sort of have this place of, I mean, it's why it's difficult to review as well, because it's only going to be made better or worse by what follows it, I think, in terms of what it's actually setting up. But I think it's done a bloody good job straight off the bat. But
I mean, it was interesting because I was actually watching with my sister and a boyfriend, and they're not massive Who fans in the slightest. So they sat down with me, and even they said they would tune in for next week. And that's just general sort of members of the public kind of. So even though there was a lot going on, they understood the whole premise of it. So I think that's such a great stepping stone. They've got a real good point, because everything's starting to get teased and explained and stuff, and then you can go into the bigger stuff later on.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. So next one is from Matt V at Matt V525. A few little theories here. Now, this is a theory that I've seen going about the internet, which is piquing a bit of interest. what if Vinda, another character we haven't talked about
Oh,
yet,
yes.
what if Vinda is key to Rose's return? So, we know that. So, what the way that Matt explains it is,
Yep.
is he seeing the flux from Pete's world, or from Pete's world's universe,
right?
as it breaks down the walls? And he's also said not only is the outpost station that he's on called Rose, which is very interesting. There's also a couple of other little nods with the vortex energy coming out of the TARDIS.
Yes.
And the fact that the Doctor directly quotes the Ninth Doctor by saying, "Nice to meet you, Dan. Run for your life." So there's a few little nods there to Rose.
Right. Yeah.
And I would usually have gone, they're not going to bring Rose back. But as Matt says, very interesting coincidences.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if it's not teasing Rose's return, it's teasing something to do with Rose. And I don't know what. Or maybe it is just a big fat load of coincidences. And we're just linking lots of things.
Who
together.
knows? This is our job.
Who knows? I mean, yeah, Rose, the fact that it's called Outpost Rose, is weird. But then you also have to think Rose is a word in the English language, and Chris Chibnall can use it if he wants without it being something to do with Rose Tyler. And the other things might just be
maybe it's his favorite flower.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe in another universe we'd have had Outpost Petunia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, what do you think of that? Do you think Rose is coming back, or are we reaching too far here?
I don't think so. I think it's probably a lot of coincidences. But in this universe of Who stuff, I would never rule anything out. And to be fair, Billie Piper herself has said she would quite happily return for an episode. But whether or not that might be they could tease towards sort of the 60th and all that kind of stuff. You never know. Yeah. But yeah, whether or not it's because Chris Chibnall has done a few things where I've gone, oh, it's this, and then it's turned out not to be anything, and you just go, oh, I was completely wrong. Because it's like in Can You Hear Me? I can never remember his name, so I just call him Five Fingers McGee, with the guy with the 5 fingers that fly off. And I thought he was going to be the Black Guardian, and it just totally wasn't anything to do with the Eternals or anything like that. So it might just be a nice nod at the end of the day, because we've had a couple obviously with the Doctor saying, release in a Scottish accent and stuff like that. Yeah. So it might be just a few little hey, I remember. I'll write this in kind of thing. But I'd never rule out.
Yeah, maybe it's Chris Chibnall just saying, look, we might get some casual viewers coming back who haven't watched it for a good 15 years. Maybe if I tease Rose, maybe they'll stick around for a bit, which would not be the worst idea to keep audiences on board. So next message is from Glenn at Glenn is online. Yes, you are, Glenn. He said, Carvanista made me laugh a lot. The episode kind of gave me the feel of the pilot, like you said, which is interesting. It felt fresh again. I did feel this exact thing watching Spyfall Part 1, though, and I was really disappointed by Part 2, but I'm hopeful that I'm going to enjoy this series, and I'm liking the high stakes so far. So, yeah, very interesting point. Carvanista. Let's talk about Carvanista very briefly in the middle of all this, because it's a character that we've not really touched on yet. Really funny. I love him. Yeah, it's from the moment I saw that design, I was like, oh, I love that. That is so I was like, it's so classic Who. But
for sure.
it's a really well made costume.
Yeah.
I mean, another slight little not criticism. I mean, it's sort of bound to happen when you've got a design like that. The face did get a bit static every now and then.
Yeah, I think if it was more molded, that he could actually sort of like talk and it would move and stuff.
In
then...
some scenes, it does look like it. Like
Yeah.
some scenes, like the eyes are really expressive and the mouth seems to be moving loads. And then there's some other scenes where it looks like it's a different mask, but I don't think it is. It's just shot. It's just, I think it might just be the angle that it's shot at. But his eyes look like they're closed and his mouth's barely moving. But I mean, it's a nitpick. I mean, they still make it clear what he's saying. They always make it clear that he's the one saying it, even when his mouth doesn't move. I mean, we had the face of Bo, where just talking telepathically when they probably just couldn't be bothered to move his mouth around anymore. So, because it looked like a bit of a mission to move that around. But yeah, I thought Carvanista's entrance.
Yeah.
Well, no, because actually he's in the first scene, isn't he?
It was funny because that scene, I think I would have just tweaked ever so slightly. I get what they were trying to do with the trick-or-treaters kind of thing, because it's almost like they wanted the scene to be tense in a way that, like, Dan's gone home and it's almost you wanted to show that something had been following him, but then he gets a knock at the door and he's a bit like, oh, what's going on? Opens the door and he's like, oh, there's nobody there, but then pans down and it's like, trick or treat with the little kids kind of thing, which is adorable. And then what you want is sort of like maybe another strange noise in between, and then he opens the door and sees the guy with the beer that's just like, I just want some sweets kind of thing. I did find that quite funny. And then that's when you needed the big build up to sort of when Carvanista comes in, smashes down the door, because you wanted that sense of peace then to be disrupted, because you're like, oh, third time, he's actually in danger. And then Carvanista comes in. I think the whole thing of him just like coming in, trapping Dan, and Dan's like, what have I done, kind of thing, and then just taking him away, just absolutely no sort of clue, was brilliant. I love that sort of that you think that, you know, Dan's going to be maybe like another Clara kind of thing, and it's like, oh no, he's just saving him because it's his buddy. And I find that such a lovely theme.
It's a nice little buddy system that they've got going on.
Buddy system,
it's a really good twist. I genuinely didn't see it coming, and it was a really, really nice twist as well. And I like the whole man's best friend thing. Really sweet. I love that. I love the scene of Carvanista and Dan in the kitchen when Dan's just playing with his face. And he just bops him on the nose as well.
Bops him on the nose. It's like, I would do that.
I think the funniest line in there is when Carvanista says something about his forebearers, and he says, "You look nothing like forebears." So funny. Yeah, I mean, John Bishop is just on point in this episode. It's so funny.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, thank you, Glenn, for your comments there. That sparked a little chat about our little dog boy. So Dom next, Dom at Whitaker X Files, something like that. I'm going to save their first comment for last because it's an interesting one. But they've said, seriously, it was a wild ride. Absolutely adored it from start to finish. It felt like I had just run a marathon at the end of the episode, though. I was exhausted. There was so much going on, but you won't see me complaining about that. I feel like Chib is going to surprise us. I think you're definitely on board with us. The last thing that Dom had to say was thoughts on the bed. The bed sort of lit up Twitter last night and today. It's
there's some long nights in the TARDIS.
So if anyone doesn't know what we're referring to, obviously when they fall into the TARDIS in the first scene, they land on a little double bed. They look rather cozy together, and I think a lot of Thasmin shippers were loving that moment, loving it.
As some of my friends constantly quote, because I quote this as well, we just kind of go, "Good heavens," on stuff like that. But yeah, you know,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think JNT's no hanky panky in the TARDIS role might have been slightly broken. Who knows? But we'll move swiftly on to our final message, which is from Alfie Jack. And we've got a great Alfie Jack at 4359 on Twitter. And we've got a lovely little fan theory here, which is not something, it's something that I thought of when I was watching it. I was like, that's maybe a possibility. Okay. But I've not seen many other people mention it. He said, incredible start to the new series. I think the flux is an after effect of the death particle being used by Ko Sharmus. That was the name. Yeah. Ko Sharmus in the Timeless Children. And that's why it's affecting both the current and division timelines. And also the Cybermen in the trailer look the same as the ones in the Timeless Children. So Alfie thinks we're going back to Gallifrey. But I think the death particle thing is a very interesting theory because, I mean, maybe the death particles set off and it just carries on going.
Yeah.
Because that's what the flux is doing is exactly what the death particle said on the tin, just on a bigger scale. So who knows? I mean, maybe the fact that it happened on Gallifrey means that it's rippling through time. Who knows? I'm spitballing here. I'm spitballing.
It's not a bad theory, and I mean, I'm just like sat here, like, yeah, like I could see that tying, especially because like we know, well, rumors are that this series is going to tie up all the Timeless Children kind of story arc and everything. I wouldn't put it past it. That's a great theory.
Very good theory. Very good theory, Alfie. Well done. And thank you to everybody who got in touch. And for jogging our memory, because as I said, I think we're both really tired. And we both had very long journeys yesterday. And we're really struggling with how mad this episode is. I have the added benefit of having watched it twice, but I'm still struggling. So let's go. I mean, let's quick fire through a few little things that we haven't touched on. I've got some notes here, and they are just a scramble of nonsense. Claire, let's go to Claire. What the fuck is going on with Claire? So Claire just comes out of nowhere in the middle of a scene and is like, "Hi, Doctor, I know you." The Doctor's like, "I don't know you." Very Sally Sparrow at the end of Blink. Really like it, but obviously we're seeing it from the other perspective, which is interesting. So, and then there's the weird moment in between that and the Weeping Angel bit, where she says to herself, "It's time to go home now, Claire."
Yeah, that was freaky. That,
like, she knows what's going to happen, or she knows there's going to be an angel there. Like, she has some sort of foreknowledge, and she's scared. But I don't know. It's really weird, and I'm excited to see where it gets paid off.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like the whole thing where she sort of drops her keys and everything, but she is still keeping an eye on the angel, and it's like, so did you want to be sent back in time or not, kind of thing? Because she did try her best to sort of like, you know, keep an eye on it. I don't know. Yeah, again, it's just the whole first episode just leaves so many question marks.
Because the way that, I mean, it implies she already knows. So it implies that she already knows about the angels, because we imagine she's been involved in a future episode with the Doctor. The future Doctor and her past self together have fought the angels. That sort of works. But then then she says about coming home the long way round.
The long way round. I was just
which is really interesting. It's really confusing. It's really, really confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't make head and tail of it. Really good scene.
No,
I love the Weeping Angel bit. They really nail it.
Brilliant.
I loved it the
Yeah.
moment, because the moment you see the angel, Sagan Akinola in his score, it's something that I only just noticed on the rewatch. There's that little weeping angel noise that we always used to get in the Stephen in Blink.
Yeah.
That little screechy noise, and there's like a little edited version of that at the start. And I was like, oh, that is lovely. And then there's really creepy music too, for the whole scene.
Yeah. It's that moment that you see the weeping angel like pans behind, and you're like, oh my god, all these memories are coming back about how terrifying these bloody things are, and I hate them but love them because they're so freaking scary.
Yeah. It's that inevitability as well. Like now, the scariest thing is like in Blink, they're sort of unpredictable, but in now we know them and we know exactly what's going to happen, but there is absolutely no way of stopping it, and that's the scariest part of them now.
Exactly.
I love that bit. So yeah, Claire is a mystery to be solved, as is Anna and the other bloke in the Arctic Circle,
like,
who then becomes Azure. And why are they in the Arctic Circle?
Yeah.
What was the little floaty disc thing that she hits with an axe? Why was she so scared of it? There's so many questions.
Why was it scanning Dan and everybody and all that as well?
Oh yeah, so is that the same?
I think it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
I've only just made the connection in my head. So when he's at the food bank, the thing flies past.
Yeah, because it scans him and Diane, and then it just flies off and then goes back to the Arctic Circle. So it's just, and then you got the warning message, and it's like, right, okay, well, obviously this is bad because you just smashed it with a hammer. Yeah.
And then the guy, and then obviously you've got Swarm comes in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And the guy just touches something and explodes.
That I was like not expecting as well. I was like, switch on the light. Oh wait, I've died.
Swarm doesn't actually do anything.
No.
He obviously does. He does something to the light switch.
Yeah.
He's like, don't touch anything. And yeah, it's a really weird way. I think personally, might have been a bit darker, but I would have preferred Swarm to actually like go at him. But maybe that's not how Swarm works.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll make sense in the long run, the whole don't touch things.
Yep.
Interesting. Very interesting. Why are they in the Arctic Circle? I don't know. Very, very intriguing. Who knows? Who knows anymore? Let's have a look at my notes. What am I missing out on? Well, there's so much stuff. There's Vinder's here.
Yeah, Vinder's there doing things. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's not really much to say about Vinder. I think we're probably going to get more of Vinder in the next couple of episodes. But I think it's a good little setup, and I like him. I liked his little monologue to the thing where he's like sat at the outpost for 20,000 days or something like that. Very interesting. So let's get on to the climax.
Yeah. Or
the 12 different climaxes that we get.
Yep.
So sort of simultaneously, it all kicks off with Carvanista. The Doctor confronts Carvanista about being in the division, and then we find out that there's the whole bond thing going, and there's 7 billion ships for each human to save the humans from the Flux. Then the Doctor learns about the Flux, then they're in the TARDIS, and everything's kicking off in the TARDIS. And then at the same time, Diane, Dan's friend / girlfriend from the museum, gets forced. They force her to walk in the house.
Yeah.
In a random house, and then she's there with Azure, and Azure says, "We're going to have a lot of fun with you," which is really creepy.
Oh yeah, that bit was just
great
like
little scene. Yeah, it was a really, really creepy moment. so it's like a 12-fold cliffhanger with
Yeah.
Santarans and the Weeping Angel and Claire
Yeah.
and it's all just mental. I mean, let's focus on the Flux.
Yeah.
So we see the Flux like tearing through the solar system, which is, again, the visual effects there look beautiful, so lovely.
I think what's great about the Flux as well is that because it's this big massive nothingness just tearing through space and time, is that there's a time constraint against the characters now, which is going to make all of them panic, all of us panic as well, because you don't know sort of when this is gonna, hit. And that moment when the Doctor's like, we'll just go back to Earth, and you can see Dan and Yaz like, what? No, don't go back to Earth, it's gonna like tear it apart. But yeah, how they're gonna get out of that situation at the end, find out next week.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously what the Doctor tries to do is smash the console like the Ninth Doctor, when like Rose does in the first series, and the time vortex energy comes streaming out and goes into the Flux, and it does absolutely nothing. What does that mean? Because to me, that obviously means, does it feed off time vortex energy? Is it linked to the time vortex? Because surely if it is nothing to do with the time vortex would affect it.
Yeah, I mean, it's this kind of moment, because you think, like, if the time vortex can't touch it, what can stop this thing?
It's a good moment for showing the scale, isn't it?
Yeah,
because like it's a big moment, and usually that would be the victory moment where you'd hear the 13th Doctor's theme in the background, like and it'd be, we've saved the day, and then it just stops, and she's like, oh, it's the end of the universe. I've always wondered how that would feel. I love that line. It's a lovely line at the end.
Great line.
Great line to finish it on. It's a really interesting, and like, as we see right at the very final moment, the Flux, I keep swapping between the Flux and the Swarm. I'm getting them all confused. The Flux is like flying through the TARDIS doors. So what is the what? Oh,
I don't know.
I have no idea. I have no theories. On how they get out of it, which is really exciting, because it's not like a classic cliffhanger where they just like sort of, I don't know, someone bops them on the head or something, and the threat is gone within the first 10 seconds of the next part or something.
I think my only theory is that the Flux doesn't destroy things, it just disperses it through different periods in time and space. Hence why next week we're suddenly sort of with the Sontarans and everything. But I don't know, it's a theory that it doesn't destroy, but that's why the division are involved, because they're trying to sort of fix time and space, because it's just absolutely rampaging and messing everything up.
Very interesting. I think my only theory would either be that, or, like I said, if the time vortex doesn't affect it, maybe it doesn't affect like things within the time vortex. So maybe the TARDIS isn't affected by the Flux, but it obviously is affected by the Flux, because it's making the doors go weird and everything, and the TARDIS is leaking, but we don't know that that's caused by the Flux. And there's just too many questions.
Too many questions.
Too many questions. I mean, it is. We'll start to wrap it up, because we could sit and talk for hours, but I think in terms of scale, it was the biggest series opener we've ever had.
Yeah, totally agree.
And the amount of questions that it opens up is like game-changing questions for the entire series. I mean, this is a daft question, but are you excited for what's to come in Doctor Who Flux.
Hell yeah. I think just the anticipation, the questions, just everything has been thrown at this episode, and I just want to know the answers. Literally, if I could binge it right now, I totally would. But I love that's the way that we, BBC are doing it. Is just like each week you got to leave it on a cliffhanger, get us talking about it is the fun thing, and this
lovely.
is what I adore about the show, is that you're there for a whole week going, oh my god, what's going to happen? We've got all these theories, right, let's talk about it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's absolutely mental, absolutely mental. And next week obviously we've got War of the Sontarans. Great title. Great. So classic.
It's the most 80s Doctor Who title ever.
Really yeah, it's great for the Sontarans to get. I think out of all of the footage we've seen, obviously it's hard to patch everything together. I'm excited for when the Weeping Angels get a bit of time to shine. I think this is the one I'm most excited for. And I think, bearing in mind, I was excited for episode 1, but I was more excited for what was to come. My expectations were exceeded. And I don't know if you've seen it. There's a new trailer that dropped about 5 minutes before we started recording.
I saw it, but I haven't watched it yet. So
it looks so good.
Brilliant.
So good. I'm so excited. The Sontarans look like they're at their best.
I forgot. There was one thing with the Sontarans is they did the tongue lick thing.
They did the tongue.
And that was it. I was just like, yes.
They did the tongue. There's also another little returning Sontaran thing that I won't mention because you get to watch it in the trailer, but I tweeted about it before and I was very excited. But War of the Sontarans. I will be back next week with another fantastic guest. George Sheard will be joining me for his 4,000th appearance on Who Knew, to chat all about War of the Sontarans. So that'll be out on Tuesday, the 9th of November. 9th? Is it 9th? Yeah, it's the 9th of November. Before we go, I promised quizzes on Twitter. I'm a bad host, and I didn't prepare a full quiz, mainly because I just didn't have time. I'm very sorry. There will be quizzes to come in future, but I do have one quiz question for Ellie.
I'm gonna fail.
you gotta pull this out of the bag. So
right, okay.
Your quiz question is: name the 2 former Doctor Who writers who were credited in the Halloween apocalypse.
I have no idea.
No idea?
No.
Have a little think. So obviously Chris Chibnall is the writer, but why would other writers be credited?
Oh, Stephen Moffat.
Yes, that's one.
Oh my goodness. Is it something to do with the Sontarans?
Possibly.
I'm trying to remember who wrote The Time Warrior. Am I on the right lines?
You are on the line. This is the line.
Who wrote The Time Warrior? Robert Holmes?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
My brain, the cogs were going.
You got it. That is great. Well, there will be more quiz questions.
And do better than me.
Yes. You got it. You smashed it. It took you a little while, but you got there. So, I mean, thank you so much for coming on. Before you go, please plug away anything that you want to plug.
Just follow me on Twitter and Instagram, those kind of places. I post a lot of stuff. That's about it. But just thanks for all the support from you guys, from my cosplays and everything. It just makes it worthwhile. So you as a community on my Twitter page and everything, you just make this world so much brighter. And what Dan was saying, sort of like, we're put on this earth to make other people happy as well. So I think that's a motto to go by. So
lovely line. Lovely, and a lovely way to end things. Is it at TardisMonkey?
Yeah, at TardisMonkey or TardisMonkey, I think.
Lovely.
I'm on Twitter, so yeah.
Wonderful. And I mean, thank you all for coming to rejoice in and bask in the glory of the Halloween apocalypse. Before next week, we bask in the glory of the Santaran Empire. So, I mean, we're going to be here every single week, every Tuesday, reviewing each new episode that comes out, and I'll have a different guest every single week. Very, very exciting. As I said, next week, War of the Santarans with George Sheard. For Who Knew Fluxed, you can find us on Twitter, Who Knew Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, whoknewdwpod. Find us on YouTube. Just type in Who Knew Doctor Who Podcast. It'll come up. Please subscribe, like, share, everything, because it really helps me out, and I really want these reviews to go big, because I might do more in the future. I've never really done review content before. It's just been chatting, obviously. And check out our podcast that we did together, our episode of Who Knew. It's part of series 2. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. So with that, thank you very much for joining us. Please make sure if you see a Lupari, you bop him on the nose. And thank you for joining us. Big thank you to all of our patrons, and a massive shout out to Alpheanis. Thanks for listening to Who Knew, a Doctor Who podcast. You can check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and now on YouTube. Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you can, as it really helps us out. And a massive thanks to the Sononauts for lending their cover of the Doctor Who theme to be the theme for the podcast.